This bill has been in the making for a considerable period of time.
Hi, I'm Mariam from Refugee Action. We're going to look at the Home Secretary Priti Patel introducing the government's Nationality and Borders Bill in Parliament. We're calling it the Anti-Refugee Bill, for reasons that will become obvious if you keep watching. The first reason is that the bill explicitly is anti-refugee. It sets up the idea that having refugees come to the UK is a bad thing. A bit like introducing anti-gambling or anti-smoking legislation, the bill explicitly is intended to act as a deterrent to people who want to seek safety in the UK. The key thing to say is that this entire bill essentially ends the asylum system. First off, it removes your right to claim asylum just based on how you get into the country. Unless you arrive in this country to claim asylum on exactly the way that we want you to, if you fill it in exactly the right forms when you're fleeing a crisis, we just don't care. Even if you do end up becoming a refugee, you get your status, the government is taking away any real sense of safety because it's not going to give people the ability to stay here long term. You won't get long-term status. Next, it's going to extend the detention of people seeking safety in the UK. That means seeing more people trapped in places like Napier or Penally Army Barracks in dilapidated, disastrous situations. It's going to try and offshore as many people as possible. What that means to the government is saying, we don't want to deal with people seeking safety on our shores. We want to try and ship them off to anywhere that will take them in the world, regardless of any guarantees of how those people will be treated in those countries. There is nothing in this bill that is going to increase the protection of refugees in the UK. It's all punishment, it's not protection. So let's hear what the Home Secretary has to say about it.
Currently, our system is overwhelmed.
Simply not true. No reasonable definition of overwhelmed can be met by what's actually going on. The number of people claiming and being granted asylum has gone down in recent years and are way below what they were 20 years ago. Two things have been used by this government to give the appearance of an overwhelmed asylum system. First, the increase in channel crossings since 2020 due to further limits on ways into the UK during the coronavirus pandemic. Second, the miserably slow way in which the Home Office deals with cases. That's created a huge backlog in which many people wait years and years for a decision. The system is terribly managed, but the numbers are not unmanageable. If anyone suggests to you that they are, please direct them to official figures, this video, or my 5-year-old's maths class.
British people have had enough of open borders and uncontrolled immigration. Enough of a failed asylum system that costs the taxpayer over £1 billion a year.
When it comes to cost, we at Refugee Action think that a compassionate asylum system that actually protects people is what's worth investing in. But if the Home Secretary is really worried about how expensive the asylum system is, let's talk about that. The costs of offshoring, which the bill opens the door to, are never talked about by this government. In Australia, the cost of sending people seeking asylum offshore are staggering. It's more than £2 million per person per year. £2 million per person. But the good news is that we can have a system that's more compassionate for a lot less money than the grim vision that the Anti-Refugee Bill puts forward.
It will deter illegal entry to the UK and, importantly, break the business model of the smuggling gangs.
We think the idea of deterrent is both a moral and practical failure. But even if you agree with the idea of deterring people, where is the evidence that these changes will be deterrents rather than just harsher treatment of people who've already been through so much? The whole anti-refugee bill is based on the idea of deterrent, the misrepresentation that the UK is too attractive to people seeking safety. Look, the real reasons people try specifically to reach the UK are really complicated. The Home Office's own research showed that family, language, historical ties, and a reputation for upholding human rights were the main factors for why people chose to come to the UK to seek safety. Look, there's nothing to suggest that the measures will filter through to people who have fled their homes. Does Priti Patel really believe that people in desperate enough situations to try and cross the channel all have the most up-to-date information about the contents of the latest bill in Westminster? Rather than having their business model broken, reports actually show that people smugglers were rubbing their hands at the anti-refugee bill, as harder borders means higher prices for them. Much of the Anti-Refugee Bill is just unprecedented in its harshness, but in so many ways it's just more of the same. It continues the false logic that harsher treatment lessens the mythical pull factor that more compassionate treatment creates. This logic is just a dangerous one-way street. The government is chasing the impossible goal of putting everyone off, and that just slides us ever further in the direction of making life in the UK asylum system unbearable. And shamefully, some people seeking asylum, like one of those flung into disused barracks, have told us that experiences in the UK have been even worse than what they fled from in the first place.
There are individuals, genuine people seeking to claim asylum that are simply not getting their cases heard.
There are asylum claims that will be successful and asylum claims that will not be successful. To use this fact to attach the words genuine or not genuine to people, implying some kind of widespread dishonesty, is just insincere and it's irresponsible. Actually, it's an attempt to characterise people seeking asylum as untrustworthy. So, who is a genuine asylum seeker? We can clear it up very simply for the Home Secretary. If you're a person, and if you seek asylum, you're a person seeking asylum. Claims are often refused at first by the Home Office and then they're overturned, and this happens around half of the time. You wouldn't tell a teacher that they could save time by only marking the exam papers that will pass. The asylum system should be the process that assesses people's claims. That's what it's for. You can't know the outcome until you've looked at them. It makes no sense to suggest that unsuccessful claims slow things down for the successful ones. By saying that people who are desperate enough to cross the channel don't deserve a hearing on their claim, this government is trying to cut corners and cut up the Refugee Convention, making how people come to the UK more important than why.
The British people finally have a government that is listening to them, because our priorities are the people's priorities.
So the idea that there is widespread public support for punishing refugees in the ways the Anti-Refugee Bill entails is at best highly dubious. Recent polling showed that a large majority of the public want to see refugees protected in the UK. The government really can't just pass off the nastiness of this bill as a priority for the public. And actually, when the Home Office did seek feedback in its deeply flawed consultation on the bill, 3/4 of those who responded were against the measures it contained. 3/4.
The majority of people entering the UK legally, they are travelling through safe countries across the EU where they could claim asylum.
Great Britain is an island. It's nearly impossible to arrive here without either having the required travel documentation or having passed through another country. This is a geographical fact, which the Home Secretary finds convenient, presented as a justification for minimising the UK's role as a safe haven. Asylum rules should be set in line with the compassionate role the UK ought to be playing in the world. It shouldn't be based on what the Home Secretary thinks that a stretch of water can help us get away with. This is about who we are, or who we should be, as a country, not where we are. Priti Patel's claim that the UK asylum system is broken, but that the Anti-Refugee Bill, a more extreme version of past failures, will fix it, is like diagnosing an illness and then just prescribing more and more of the same disease. The asylum system is broken, but it's broken because of the refusal of Home Secretary after Home Secretary to take the steps necessary to fix it. Until they choose real solutions over tough posturing and exploiting humanitarian crises for party political gain, we'll just continue to see refugees being treated as if their lives don't matter. Refugees that we should choose to help.